met her in the fall. He took her to a movie, and when they done it all, he took her.
Hello and welcome to the Fabulous Picture Show. I'm Amanda Palmer, and this week we're joined by filmmaker Beedi Finzi, and we'll be screening her inspiring new documentary, Only When I Dance.
But so did I.
It's about aspiring ballet dancers from a whole other world.
Só falta se colocar assim, dança clássica não é para o negro.
And for director Beedi Finzi, it's not all about tutus and tights.
I'm an underpants girl myself.
Also on the show, a classic love story, boy meets inflatable girl. And later, he's a clown actually, but don't worry, he's good, not evil. But first, New Zealand's Jane Campion is the only woman director to ever win the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, and she's one of only 3 to ever be nominated for an Academy Award. And now her latest film, Bright Star, is being lauded as one of her best.
I did not know how elastic my spirit might be.
Taking its name from a popular sonnet by John Keats, Jane Campion's Bright Star depicts the tragically short romance between the British poet, who died at 25,
Mr. Keats.
and his neighbour Fanny Brawn. Campion tells the story through the adoring eyes of Fanny, who becomes his muse.
You know, I was careful when I wrote the script to discover Keats through Fanny and fall in love with him as a human being, and then just slowly build a fascination with what he was actually doing.
What pleasure I might have in living here if the remembrance of you did not weigh so upon me.
Abby Cornish, who plays Fanny, prepared for the role by reading Keats' numerous love letters.
Unfortunately, Keats destroyed all of Fanny's letters to him before he passed away, which is just, you know, it is. It's so heartbreaking and so... You can only imagine what was in those letters.
I almost wish we were butterflies and lived but 3 summer days. 3 such days with you I could fill with more delight than 50 common years could ever contain.
The intense and volatile romance drives the film. Impressive, considering Campion didn't audition her leads together before casting them.
She just thought, that person's interesting, and had some sense that there might be a chemistry.
I had such a dream last night. I was floating above the trees, with my lips connected to those of a beautiful figure.
Whose lips? Were they my lips?
From the moment I met him, it was just very open, very connected, and he's such a gorgeous person, it's impossible not to love him.
Relationships are complex and intimately conveyed in Campion's films.
Shall I kiss you goodnight?
And her heroines are compelling but unconventional.
She says no. She says she'd rather be boiled alive by natives than get back on the Austin tub.
Her Oscar-winning The Piano focuses on a mute, repressed woman who uses the instrument as a form of self-expression. Campion's biopic, An Angel at My Table, about famous New Zealand author Janet Frame,
But you've always wanted to be a teacher. I'm going to be a writer.
also had a vulnerable female at its core.
You haven't been feeling all that well lately, and, well, we thought that you might like a little rest.
No, I'm fine now, thank you.
Frame was misdiagnosed with schizophrenia and spent 8 years in hospital enduring over 200 shock treatments. As one of the most celebrated female directors ever, Campion is inevitably judged by her gender as well as by her output.
I don't expect to influence the way of the world or the politics of gender. This is supposed to be a big year. There's 3 women in competition, and we'll do the maths. That's 3 out of 20. But, you know, sometimes it makes me feel sad.
A comic book about a full-sized inflatable doll coming to life might not seem like an inspiration for one of this year's sweetest and saddest romances, but one of Japan's most interesting directors has achieved the improbable with their doll.
もう遅いし、今日は風呂やめとくか。
Hirokazu Korieda's adaptation of a popular manga or Japanese comic book depicts an inflatable doll who takes on a life of her own, and who then ditches her middle-aged owner when she falls in love with a video store clerk.
何かお探しですか?
今回の表面上とか
Obviously, this is a love story, but as I was making the film, I thought about the emptiness that people carry and how we were able to fulfill that. That eventually became the underlying theme of the narrative.
空っぽなの。
これは奇遇だね。私も同じさ。空っぽだ。特にこんな町に住んでる人たちは君だけじゃないよ。
It comes as a breath of fresh air for Korieda, who won international acclaim with riveting dramas that dealt with loss and memory. Nobody Knows was based on real events that shook Tokyo in 1988. It explores the lives of 4 abandoned children as they try to survive on their own.
おいしい？
うん、おいしい。
多々良公子さん、つまりあなたですが、昨日お亡くなりになりました。どうもご愁傷様です。
Afterlife depicts the recently deceased as they must choose just one memory to retain for eternity.
それを3日間でお願いします。
そして皆さんに選んでいただいた思い出を私たちスタッフができる限り映像で再現させていただきます。
Afterlife
is not wholly original. I met many elderly people in my research and asked if their stories could be incorporated into the film.
この辺からさ、小風呂下がるんだから、本当にもうね、あれよ、こんな感じで、もう何人かこう遊んでたわけ。
Having directed 8 documentaries before delving into fiction, Korieda is known for his high-bred approach to storytelling.
I don't have a specific style, but there is one thing in terms of attitude that I don't want to change. Something that has always been my style since making documentaries. It's the way I gaze, how I look at these characters, people. And of course, my gaze becomes the camera's gaze. And that attitude I'll probably stick with.
何？
誕生日。
誕生日？
彼女がこの世界に生まれた記念の日。
He's Miloud Ukili, a French clown who uses his art to win the trust of vulnerable street kids in post-communist Romania. Teaching them circus skills and self-respect. Parada is based on the true story of the French-Algerian busker who visited Romania's capital Bucharest in 1992 and ended up discovering his destiny.
Ça, c'est le plus petit masque du monde.
This is the smallest mask in the world, but it works very well. If you laugh at me and I laugh at you, together we can laugh about everything else. We can become friends. We can talk about anything.
Many of the children cast by director Marco Pontecorvo came from the street.
I was passing in front of this Parada center and there were a jeep, destroyed jeep. When I saw 3 children sleeping inside, I knocked on the jeep and that's how I find one of them.
Today, Ukili's troupe tours Europe and provides support for hundreds of street kids.
I want to show, okay, this is a fantastic, happy ending, modern fairy tale, but the phenomenon is quite big and difficult to solve. It's going much, much, much better than 92, but it's still there, not only in Bucharest.
In part 2, we're screening Only When I Dance. I have the documentarian here. This is Beatty Finzi. You found yourself in Rio making a documentary about ballet, but not just about ballet.
And in the end, it was an epic story of two families fighting against their odds to get their kids out of that city and out of the favela that they live in.
It's beautiful. It's about two characters, a boy and a girl. Their names are
Ilan and Isabella.
And we had a window into their lives, and they're super talented. They made me feel very untalented, but I can deal with it. We'll find out more about them in part 2. See you then.
He met her in the